A new report out this morning from a key group of the world's 38 most wealthy nations sharply downgraded its current year growth forecast for the United States, going from a forecast for 2025 of 2.2% growth projected to now just 1.6.
Looking to make sneakers and T-shirts, and we want to make military equipment. We want to make big things. We want to do the AI thing with the computers and the many elements, but the textile, I'm not looking to make T-shirts, to be honest. I'm not looking to make socks. We can do that very well.
What if the biggest threat to American jobs wasn't China, wasn't Mexico, but came from inside the White House itself? What if 5 of America's most iconic companies, brands that built the middle class, just sent Washington a silent message saying, "We are out"? It didn't happen in a fiery protest. It didn't come with angry speeches. It came in whispers, in boardroom exits, in offshored production lines, and in confidential investor calls. One by one, the giants are moving quietly, strategically, and devastatingly. Why? Because of Donald Trump's obsession with tariffs. What was pitched as economic protection has become corporate evacuation. And what started as a tough-on-China campaign is now a demolition derby aimed squarely at America's own economy. Trump's latest threat? A 50% steel tariff. But even before that hammer could fall, industries were already bleeding. The rally in Pennsylvania wasn't just political theater. It was the starting gun for what could become the greatest corporate migration in modern American history. So what really happened? And what's coming next? In this video, let's find out. The story begins in Bentonville, Arkansas, the nerve center of Walmart, America's largest retailer and a lifeline for working-class families. Walmart has always been the fortress of low prices, a symbol of resilience during economic downturns. But this time, even Walmart couldn't hold the line. As tariff policies escalated under Trump's administration, executives stepped forward with a chilling admission. The trade war had finally reached America's dinner table. Not just electronics, not just patio furniture or smartphones, but milk, bread, baby formula, diapers, the everyday essentials that American families depend on. The costs of imports, raw materials, and logistics had skyrocketed, and Walmart could no longer shield consumers. The company confirmed price increases across key departments, warning that the rising cost of living would no longer be a distant policy concern. It would be something families would feel every time they shopped for dinner. The most shocking part wasn't just the price hikes, it was the contraction. Walmart began slashing inventory orders across thousands of SKUs. They paused supplier contracts, froze restocking cycles, and began reworking entire supply chains. Why? Because the margin of error had vanished. A senior executive described the situation bluntly. There was very little room left to maneuver. This wasn't merely a fiscal adjustment. It was a red alert. If Walmart, the most cost-optimized, negotiation-savvy retailer in the country, was breaking under the weight of tariffs, then the rest of the retail ecosystem would soon be underwater. For millions of Americans, especially in rural towns where Walmart is the only major store, this translated into real pain. Rising food bills, fewer product choices, empty shelves, and no one to blame but Washington. The fallout at Walmart set the tone. This was no longer just an economic policy issue. It was a domestic crisis in slow motion. And from Bentonville, the economic tremor rippled north to Detroit, the cradle of America's industrial might. There, the big 3 automakers, General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis, took center stage. For over a century, these companies have symbolized American strength and ingenuity. But this week, they waved the white flag. One by one, each automaker withdrew its forward financial guidance. In Wall Street terms, it was like pulling the emergency brake. They told investors and the world that the future was now too unpredictable to chart. Tariffs had injected such volatility into raw materials pricing that long-term planning became a guessing game. Steel costs 1 week, aluminum the next. Now it's lithium. Soon it could be semiconductors or tires. With every passing announcement from Washington, auto manufacturers were left scrambling to recalculate the cost of making a single vehicle. Assembly lines became hostage to trade policy. One executive from Ford put it plainly, "We don't know if a part will cost 10% more next week or 50%. The consequences came swiftly. Ford paused multiple production lines. GM slashed future investment plans, redirecting funds into risk mitigation instead of innovation. Stellantis went further, laying off nearly 400 workers at a key facility in Indiana, and explicitly cited tariffs as the reason. These weren't business decisions. They were survival tactics. What made the moment particularly grave was how uncharacteristic it was. Detroit has faced global competition, recessions, bankruptcies, and innovation disruption. But never this, policy-driven instability where rules changed on a whim and prices spiraled with no end in sight. And while these companies faced the public, thousands of auto parts suppliers quietly followed suit. Smaller firms began laying off shifts, delaying plant expansions, or moving operations across the border. Mexican suppliers were now more stable partners than US-based manufacturers, purely because they weren't exposed to Trump's chaotic tariff regime. This wasn't an industry slowdown, it was an implosion in confidence. The message from Detroit was loud and clear. You can't build the future on a battlefield of tariffs. And for every vehicle that now costs more to make, there's a worker whose job has become more fragile. Every production delay becomes a ripple that hits dealerships, truckers, sales reps, and rural suppliers. The auto industry wasn't just reacting, it was retreating. And then, the unthinkable. Harley-Davidson, the pride of American roads, the rebel machine of Route 66, a company whose brand is synonymous with freedom, ruggedness, and everything red, white, and blue. But in 2025, that symbol didn't roar, it packed up. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on the latest news stories on geopolitics, economics, and current affairs impacting your lives. 3 of Harley-Davidson's most iconic models, the Pan America, the Sportster S, and the Nightster, are no longer being assembled in Wisconsin. They are being shipped off to Thailand. Why? Not because of labor costs, not because of supply chain glitches, but because of retaliatory tariffs. The EU and other markets slapped US motorcycles with punishing 60% duties in response to Trump's trade war. That meant keeping production in the US would have made Harley's bikes unaffordable abroad. So Harley made a decision. If building in America meant losing foreign markets, then foreign production was the only option. It was a strategic withdrawal, framed by executives as a matter of tax survival. To the boardroom, it made financial sense. To workers in Milwaukee and Menomonee Falls, it felt like betrayal. A betrayal not just of jobs, but of identity. A company that once flew the flag now quietly moved the factory. This set the tone for what was coming next. As Harley packed up its bikes, another American titan began its retreat. From Peoria, Illinois, home of Caterpillar, came the 4th economic tremor. Caterpillar, builder of the machines that carved America's highways, its bridges, its skylines, declared a brutal financial hit. Tariffs, the company said, had cost it between $250 million and $350 million this quarter alone. But it wasn't just the numbers, it was the tone. The new CEO's statement was clear, if corporate. We are evaluating long-term mitigation actions. Translated into plain English, we are preparing to leave. Factories once alive with welders and engineers are now filled with uncertainty. Bulldozers, backhoes, and excavators that once proudly bore the Made in USA label are being outcompeted by machines from South Korea, Brazil, and even China. Why? Not because they are better, but because they are cheaper, thanks to more stable tariff environments. And at Caterpillar, the problem isn't the workforce. It's the rules. Rules that change with every tweet. Policies that make planning impossible. And so, even a company that built the physical bones of America is now considering whether it can survive building here at all. And then came the fifth blow, this time not from Middle America, but from the high-speed global world of fashion, youth, and athletic gear. Nike, the symbol of American athleticism. The logo every teenager, runner, and weekend warrior knows. Their decision was swift. Raise U.S. retail prices by $2 to $10 per pair. Slash promotions. Cut discount programs. Why? Because over 50% of Nike's shoes come from Vietnam, a country now caught in the crossfire of tariffs, reaching up to 46%. For Nike, this wasn't just a hit to their margins. It was a break in the chain, literally. Promotions that retailers depend on to boost sales? Canceled. Discounts for back to school? Gone. And your next pair of Jordans? Add $10. But more than that, Nike is a bellwether. If a company with supply chain flexibility, global manufacturing, and pricing power is raising the white flag, what does that say about smaller, less agile brands? The dominoes weren't just falling, they were crashing. These 5 names, Walmart, GM, Ford, Harley-Davidson, Caterpillar, and Nike, made headlines. But they weren't the only ones moving. Polaris, maker of Indian motorcycles and off-road vehicles, quietly withdrew financial guidance. Target closed underperforming stores and slashed procurement orders. Suppliers from California to South Carolina, whispering about shifting operations to Mexico, Vietnam, and Thailand, not because labor is cheaper, but because the rules are clearer. You see, this isn't about finding cheap workers. It's about escaping chaos. Washington's trade policy has become a minefield. Companies aren't moving out of America in protest. They are leaving in self-defense, because every new tariff is a gamble. Every day brings a new headline that could upend their bottom line. And here's the part that stings. Once these companies go, they almost never come back. Factories don't get unplugged and reinstalled like Legos. Supply chains take years to build, and once they are routed abroad, they rarely return. The logistics, the contracts, and the relationships become permanent. Trump cannot understand that he can't make America great again by chasing businesses away. All of this, the price hikes, the factory closures, the overseas pivots, was sold to the public as a sacrifice worth making. As Trump said, tariffs were about dignity, about making China pay, about restoring strength. But the real cost wasn't paid by Beijing. It was paid by Americans, by the single mom now paying $30 more for groceries every week, by the auto worker told to go home early because his plant paused production, by the farmer staring at unsold soybeans because China stopped buying. Yes, tariffs weren't taxes on foreign countries. They were taxes on Americans. Quiet, creeping invisible taxes that show up on Americans' bills. What do you think? Is Trump's policy Trump first and America last? What kind of patriot bankrupts your local plant just to win a trade war no one asked for? In the comment section below, share your thoughts on who's really being protected, your family, or Trump's fantasy of economic war. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We bring the latest news stories on geopolitics, economics, changing world order, and current affairs. Things you need to stay informed. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.